How you doing, y'all? Welcome to Confidence. Yeah. I'm pretty hyped, and it's late. You guys know how I've been doing it lately. I've been doing it late lately. You know what I'm saying? I've been recording way late, too late. But it ain't too late for me because I'm a late kind of person. I don't know if you knew this, but everything that I ever shown up to, whether it was school or whether it was a friend's birthday party or whether it was a really important event, you bet your bottom fucking dollar that I was showing up late. And listen, I don't even care if it bothers you. I hope it bugs you. I hope it gets you mad. Now listen, I understand that sounds disrespectful, and it is. But here's my thing. Time is relative. I'm not going to argue with you right now. All I need to say is this. Sometimes I don't know. This is what I'm realizing about myself. I have a pattern. I think for somebody that's not very confrontational, I love conflict. You know what I'm saying? I like drama. So sometimes when I show up late to something, it's like the thrill. It's like the thrill of me getting to show up late. Class is looking at you. Teacher's like giving you the disgusting look. He's just like, who the fuck is this guy? And then it's just me. Smile on my face. Happy. That's the thing. You can't get mad at the guy for being late if he's so happy. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's all I did is that the thing is, you can get mad at me and you'll yell at me for a second because it bothers you. I know you're really irked. You know what I'm saying? I know you're really upset. But I think that's like my toxic trait. You want to know what my toxic trait is? I like to push your buttons, and then what I'll do is I'll retreat and I'll just be like, ooh, you seem like you're reacting. You know what I'm saying? I get you all riled up. I get you crazy. And then I like back away and I'm like, oh shit, I just set the whole house on fire. My bad. Yeah, we should probably get some water for this. You know what I'm saying? Like I sit there and I'm like chipper. I'm like, oh, I guess everybody's upset. That's okay. We don't have to be upset here. Come on. We're living life, right? Everybody just take a chill pill. Everybody's just got to calm down. I know it's an important event. Okay. I'm sorry. You got to understand sometimes, I have anxiety. And that's what people don't understand about people that are late. Half the time it's not really because we're poor with time. Actually, maybe I am. But here's my thing. My problem is this. Like, I have an event. Let's just say it's at 6:00. You know what happens to me a lot? Softball, for instance, 6:30 pretty much every week. You know what I do? I know that I have it. And I know that it would be, I guess, cool to show up like early. But then I think to myself and I'm like, that would be kind of a waste of my time if I got there early because then I'm waiting. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like what happens is instead of waiting there, I'm like, why don't I just wait at my house? You know what I'm saying? Like at the place that I'm comfortable in. Maybe I'll have a snack. Maybe there's another thing. I think about efficiency. Here's my thing. It's all about efficiency. So for me, it's like, why would I show up there 15 minutes early when I could sit here and I could eat a protein bar? And now I'm satiated. Now I'm not showing up angry and hangry. You know what I'm saying? You just missed out on that. You didn't even think about that when I showed up late. See, you're fucking inconsiderate. That's the thing. You're not even thinking about me. That's the problem. Well, I guess the problem is I'm only thinking about me. I guess that's the issue with this. I guess that's why people get upset about the whole late thing. Fuck. I think I just recognized the flaw in that. Well, here's my new thing. My new thing is I'm not going to be late, but I'm going to show up right on time. That's like my new wave is like, I'm not the early guy. I'm not the late guy. I'm like, holy shit, I made it with 30 seconds left guy. That's who I am now. So I'm no longer disrespectful to people anymore. I mean, again, I get the occasional, honestly, I'll be honest. I just lied to you. But it doesn't count as a lie. Here's my thing. You know how I told you guys that I haven't lied in the last 3 to 4 years, which is accurate. Besides, I have one caveat to that rule. And here's the thing. There might be a situation, do or die, where I need to lie. Or maybe I recognize that I lied and then the guilt builds. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes I don't know how to deliver the information in a good way. So I need to kind of, meander around the information. But here's my rule. I have a 24-hour rule. Do you know how like some people drop food on the floor and they're like 2-second rule and they pick it up and they eat something and it's still fucking disgusting? Well, actually, I don't give a fuck. If I drop something on the floor, I swear to God, and I'm eating it, depending on what it is, if it's not a slimy item, I promise you I'll pick that shit up and I'm going to eat it. I don't believe in germs. But my point is this. What was my point? What was I was on to something real good. This is my problem. I get onto something real good and then something else happens. People then be like, oh, ADHD. Hey, you have ADHD. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. No, I don't. No, I fucking don't. Okay. I just have a regular brain that, you know, sometimes we're animals, bro. What we see something, we want to fucking kill it. I was talking about time. I was talking about showing up a little. Oh, the lying rule. The lying rule. Okay, I'm back. He's back. And my caveat is this. Remember, again, if I lie, right, I have to tell that person that I lied within 24 hours and then it doesn't count as a lie. And I feel like that's a good rule because sometimes do or die, there are just moments in life where you got to be cautious. But for the, okay, maybe not, because I will say, I think there was one time this year, it took me a day and a half, maybe 3 to 4 days to tell somebody the truth. Fuck. My whole point is this. I more than likely, 99.9% of the time, I'm like a condom. I'm like a motherfucking condom. I'm straight up protection to the truth. There's that 0.1% that something can slip through the cracks, but I'm gonna be honest with you. It really doesn't happen. I swear. It really. My whole point is I'm very honest all the time. You guys know. Last week, yeah, I was talking about fucking jerking off with the Vaseline, and it wasn't Vaseline. I realized that sometimes I yak off with Aquaphor, and you know, because like it's Arizona, it's very dry here, so it's like my lips always get chapped. So I bought like the big circle. First off, best purchase I've ever made in my life. Let's be honest. How fucking dope. Fucking circular Aquaphor. I'm telling you, go pick it up right now if you're fucking sitting there cracked lips. But here's, you guys want to know something fucking weird? Okay, I'm gonna tell you, because I'm in control. If you use Aquaphor too much to yak off, it has a weird reaction with your foreskin, and what happens is your D starts to crinkle up like plastic. And because the first time it happened to me, I'm not joking. And this is all, again, I don't lie. I'm telling you the truth. The first time that like I was using that, I did it like a couple of days in a row. I'm like, first off, slick. First off, it has healing powers. I'm pretty sure Aquaphor has healing powers. And I was like, wow, this is an amazing device to, do what I need to do on my private time. But next thing you know, like 3 or 4 days later, I was using it a couple days in a row, and my D started looking like plastic. Like, I'm not joking. It had this outer layer where it was like crinkly. It's crinkly. I swear on everything. I immediately thought, I was like, holy fuck, I got an STD. I was like, I got another STD. How did I fucking do that shit? I've had 4 STDs, by the way. Nothing major. Not the fucking herpes or anything like that. Not saying that was bad. If you have that, sorry, but I'm not trying to make fun of you. What is that? H1N1? No, it's the influenza. But I've had chlamydia 3 times. It used to be chlamydia Chris on Twitter, trademarked. And then I had the Rhea. I had the Rhea for like a day. Actually, 7 days. Take 7 days. That girl was nasty. Honestly, I knew I was getting it. I got home and I was just like, but here's my whole point is this. The whole point of this whole story is this, is I know what it looks like. You know what I'm saying? I know when my thing is not looking right. So I immediately thought, I was like, no fucking way. I was like, what did I get now? I was like, I don't remember. I was like, because I don't think I was sleeping with anybody at the time. And I was like, this looks really weird. And long story short, I recognized that it was the Aquaphor. The Aquaphor was fucking up my skin. So now my whole thing is I use it sparingly. I only will use it like, once a week. First off, and I hate to be raunchy like this because I know you guys are here for more wholesome content, right? Right? You guys are here for wholesome content. Because I was thinking about this today too. is that it's really hard being a silly man and a smart man at the same time. It's a very confusing thing to a lot of people. And the hard part about being online is you're only seeing like a snapshot of me, right? So one day I'm talking about jerking off with Aquaphor. The next day I'm helping you solve your deepest relationship issues. And it's like, who is this guy? You know what I'm saying? It's very difficult to mesh the two. And we're going to do that today. Like, first off, I've just wasted 10 minutes of your time, but maybe I really didn't, because to be honest, people enjoy silly sometimes. You wanted silly today. I know you did. Where was I going with all of that? Late, Aquaphor. Oh, yakking off. One thing I just want to say about this, because maybe you guys want to know. Honestly, people don't talk about this openly, right? Because people aren't as honest as I am. Good point. Now, to prove my honesty, I'm going to talk about my jerking off habits. No. I guess what I was trying to say is, like, I'm not like a horny dude. That's not my vibe. I'm not the horny guy. You know what I'm saying? I'm not like the guy that's like, yeah, sex all the time. You know what I mean? I need to buy an OnlyFans. Like, yo, did you see that hot chick, bro? Fucking ass is fat. I'm like, dude, I don't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't talk to me like that. Like, a lot of you, bro. Oh my, I can't even get into it. I'm going to get into it, actually. Like, there's some guys I know in my life that are horny guys. And what I mean by that is like, they just cannot stop talking about women or sex. Or first off, they feel like they have this giant thing to prove when it comes to women. I'm not going to name names, but I have people in my life that literally will like talk to a girl, and I could tell that they're just like wanting like horny approval from their friends. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's dudes, like I have I know people named like Chip. You know, like Chip, like a guy named Chip would be like, yo, bro, what you think about her? She's pretty hot, huh? And it's just like, I really don't care. This is not a competition. There's no ego in it for me. Yes, do I appreciate a fucking good looking woman? Absolutely. Just like the rest of us, definitely. You know what I'm saying? If I see something nice, I'm going to say hello. You know what I'm saying? I'm a look. But I'm not the horny guy. My whole point behind this is, for like the habits for self-pleasure for me, honestly, I at this point in my life, I'm like twice a week, 3 times a week, maybe like 4 times a week. Yeah, maybe 7 times, maybe 20 times a week. No. I guess that's my point is like, I've kind of, you know what? Actually, we don't really talk about this a lot, but I feel like that's something that you really got to grow out of. And who am I to fucking judge? Who the fuck am I to judge? My whole point is this. Like, I don't watch porn. I don't know if you guys know that. I don't watch porn. I don't do that. You know, if I yak it off, it's usually to a person live, which is kind of cool. Or, you know, I guess, you know, pictures that people will send me or whatever. So it's kind of more fun. It's like my personal OnlyFans, but except they're real people, and it makes it more fun because it's more personal. I don't really do that. I'm not joking. I think I had an episode about this, but I don't know if you guys know this, but I've stopped sexualizing people. So, and I guess this is where I was going to with the whole porn conversation is like, at some point, I feel like you kind of got to grow out of just being like the horny guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's move past that. You know what I'm saying? Like, at some point in your life, like, let's just stop looking at, you know, and this could be men or women, like, stop looking at people like fucking sex objects. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, you can see a hot girl at curves, but honestly, it's almost like, it's going to sound weird, but like when I see like a girl like on Instagram and she's like oiled up and she's got like a fucking thin ass thong and like that's all of her pictures, like even if she's not OnlyFans, that is a massive turn off for me. Massive. Like, no shot. I'm good on all that. Like, literally, I have girls that have like 500,000 followers that will follow me or that will like my videos and shit because I'm online, you know? So like, I could definitely get some horny fucking, and again, hot, definitely. Don't get me wrong. They're attractive. But as soon as I see that is your vibe, like you are just a sexual being, like a horny being, I'm just like, not my vibe, not my thing. I'm not going to associate. Now, I might be your friend. And hey, here's the thing. If you served it up on a silver platter for me, would I might take it? Maybe. Again, am I trying to avoid that? Yes. My whole point is, wow, I was about to say something really fucked up. I'm not going to say the sentence I was going to say because it was just a bad, like, again, it was a judgment. And again, this is a judgment-free zone. You guys know I'm a judgment-free zone. But for me personally, again, I don't want to really associate or follow. Like, again, I'm not following you just because you're hot and you have got a massive ass. Like, yes, that's cool. And don't get me wrong. Will I look for more than 5 seconds? For sure. You know what I'm saying? Like, if it's, you come up on my thing, I look at your profile and I'm like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, you're a hot chick. That's pretty cool. Like, yeah. Oh, I'll scroll down. All right. Fat ass, giant tits. All right. Everybody's seen everything. So like, okay, gone. Swipe back. Never see that person's profile. Never see that person ever again. You're into the abyss. Goodbye. You know what I'm saying? I don't need that. What's the horny hours for? My whole point is, at some point, I feel like you got to grow out of that. If you're going to get into something real, into something serious, you got to start not fucking with shit like that. You know what I'm saying? How are you going to be in a stable, committed relationship if you're constantly watching porn? How are you going to be only attracted to one if that's what you want? Honestly, again, no judgment. If that's the way you want to live your life, go off. My whole point is, how are you supposed to be sexually attracted to one person if you are constantly fantasizing about a bunch of people? I feel like that's going to be pretty fucking hard for you to do. Now, if you could reel it in and stop sexualizing people, fucking control your fucking orgasms a little bit, relax, chill out on the charge, and then you meet somebody really nice and you get to know them and you love them for who they are, I feel like that sex is going to be 20 times better to just to keep it real. And I think you're going to feel more satisfied. Now, I'm not saying, can't meet a hot person and you can't have multiple partners. You could do all that. I'm not saying it eliminates that. My whole point is, if you want to have more success in the sexual department, I think with one person, you got to watch yourself with that kind of shit. We really got fucking derailed. I don't know how that happened. It just did. But the podcast today was supposed to be on going with the flow, or do you need to know? We're going to get into that. It's kind of about my personal story. And then we're going to talk about dealing with the person who says they want a relationship, but then they don't act like it. One's a big one for a lot of people. And then some first date tips. Some dude reached out to me. He said he's like, I'm going on a first date. I don't know if it was for the first time. And he wanted some tips outside of just being yourself. So here's the thing. I'm just going to give you my personal tips, or just like the way that I would kind of formulate a first date, or my mindset while I'm kind of going into it. And you know what? If you take something from it and you like it, phantasmo. Great. Love it. All right. So let's fucking get into it. So go with the flow, or do you need to know? I wish I had like a fucking buzzer or something. Like, that's like a pretty cool line. I don't know if I'd go with the flow, or do you need to know? Okay. What I'm trying to say about this is this. There's times in relationships where, and you know what? Let me tell you from my personal story. So today, I actually got into a massive fight. I love that. Let me just air out my dirty laundry. That's what we need to do. I got into a fight with the long distance situation today. And as you guys know from the last couple of podcasts, I've went from holding boundaries. I got to hold boundaries, how to hold boundaries, and which is true, to I really appreciate this girl. She keeps popping up in my life. It keeps coming back. And it's one of those things where, okay, judgment free. What do I need to do about this situation to clear it up? Right. And what I felt is that I needed to show up and be a little bit more honest and communicate a little bit better, because to me, what it feels like is a repeat of the patterns that I've had in terms of avoidance. Now, important part is needs for me, right? I need to see you in person, point blank. We do not make progress unless we spend time with each other. That's just what it is. But what's really tricky about this situation is this person is A, far as fuck, and B, has a rolling schedule where she only knows a month in advance. She doesn't know multiple months in advance. And on top of that too, she does fill a lot of her extra time with her family and things that she's doing. She's a normal human being. Holy shit. So it's been really hard. So again, we've kind of like, I told her in the last podcast, I talked about how I opened up this conversation with her, how I opened up the communication, right? I broke the boundary of like, okay, hey, let's talk about this. I do care. But obviously there's something I need to know. I need to know about the future, blah, blah, blah. What I did this week, I actually took a step back from that. And this is what I mean by go with the flow, or do you need to know? So what is that statement in itself? What I'm really talking about is in relationships, there's a lot of times where we want to understand what is happening in the future of our relationship, and we want to understand the result so that we can kind of make a better decision on what we want to do, right? That's the whole idea of like, okay, do I just let the uncertainty rock and do I just enjoy the present moment, or do I keep trying to communicate things that are important to me, right? Maybe I'm feeling some sort of resentment. I sent out the newsletter this week, so sign up for the newsletter, it's free. But the newsletter this week was on a story I told about a client who was dating this guy that they were dating for like 8 months. There's like a pregnancy scare. Long story short, the guy gets really spooked, right, by this pregnancy scare. He starts getting weird about sex because he's like, I don't want you to fucking trap me. My client's like, yeah, let me tell you something, bro. I'm not on birth control and I ain't fucking, you know what I'm saying? We ain't aborting it. So they started getting into kind of like these really deep discussions about the relationship because she saw a long future with him, right? She wanted to be with him. She wanted to marry him, to be honest, I really believe. Or she probably would have, or would have saw it through at least. And what happened was because of that moment, they started to fight a lot more. She started to get very insecure about the future. She was just like, you know, what's going on? What are we going to make it? Like, do you really care about me? And think about that. How many times this happened in relationships, right? Where you have that moment where one person feels like they're chasing the situation. The other person feels like maybe they're distant, or there's multiple issues. For instance, go back to my situation, right? I feel like right now we're at this tension point where she's kind of communicating to me like, okay, I want to see some consistency. Like, I do really want to see you, but my work schedule is hard, or now is not the right time to make this plan, or, hey, you just came back into my life. I don't have these answers for you yet. So then there's parts of me where it's like, all right, I guess I got to go with the flow and just kind of let things rock, right? Like, let me just, show up and be happy. But then what happens is, and I'm sure in the situation with my client and for me, that resentment starts to build up, right? The resentment starts to build up of like, okay, but I need to know a little bit about the future. I need to know that, you care about, in her situation or the client situation, she needs to know, or feels that she needs to know, that they're going to go somewhere. But honestly, what I'm realizing is about this situation, both of them, mine and hers, is this. There seems like there's one issue. Like, for instance, in her situation, there's one problem in her situation. That's what's causing all of the fights. That's what's causing all the bickering, right? And what's happening is, because she doesn't feel safe and secure and he's kind of being distant, right? The underlying issue is she wants security and he's unwilling to give it to her because he doesn't really know if he wants to be with her for the long haul. And honestly, there was other red flags and shit. He wasn't, how would I say it? He wasn't introducing her to family. He wasn't like making moves. He wasn't like, you know what I'm saying? Showing her off. He wasn't going to her family events. So he was almost making it clear that there was some distance. Also, what we're going to talk about with dealing with the person that says they want a relationship, but they don't act like it. We're going to get into that. So let me pause on that. So back to my situation really quick. So right now we're at this impasse because I talked to her, right? And we're just kind of going with the flow, right? We are. And I'm just like, obviously I do want to see you, but it kind of just feels like that conversation just keeps being pushed off. It's like, oh, I don't really know my schedule just yet. I got to wait. I got to see where I'm at. Oh, I'm busy this weekend. Like, let's talk about this another time. And that's kind of what happens. And it's fucking weird saying it out loud right now because I'm like, yo, am I people pleasing? You know what I'm saying? Am I not getting my needs met? And am I pleasing the situation by going with the flow? And I think that's what happens for a lot of people, is that's what ends up happening, right? It's, if you keep pushing off the conversation that is very important to the situation, yes, you might feel like you can just go with the flow, right? Because again, I think in some ways you kind of need a combination of both. You do need to be able to deal with some uncertainty. And something that I was able to let go of was, I was really putting a lot of pressure on her to be like, hey, are you going to move here? Hey, are you going to be able to like come here and move here? Because I don't want to do this if you don't want to move here. But we're not really even at that step. And I talked about this actually in therapy this week with my therapist. Whoa, he's a therapist. I know a lot of people yelling at me on Instagram. You better get a therapist. Shut up, bitch. You don't fucking know me. my whole point is this, talked about in therapy, and the part that I feel like I need to go with the flow more of, and maybe the person and the advice I would give to somebody that is feeling resentment or feeling like, damn, I don't, it's hard for me to be in this uncertainty. I think you need to let go of the outcome of the situation. And that's kind of where I'm at, right? Okay, let go of the outcome. The outcome is, are we going to move? Are we going to be in the same place? Okay, let go of that part. Let's just build. Let's just hang out. Let's just see if we can even, are we even capable of doing that? Because first off, I'm trying to make her make that decision. Meanwhile, I haven't seen her since February. And we're only 6-7 months into this. It's way too fucking early to even be having those conversations. And I recognize that for myself. I'm like, wait a minute. Yeah, like what if I'm really jumping the gun here with that? Like I'm telling her to do that, but maybe I don't even know if that's what's really supposed to happen, right? So reel that part in, right? Again, the outcome focused, we got to be careful with. The result focused, like so for somebody that's in the beginning of a relationship, I think this is very relevant. Let go of the boundaries or the needing to know where things are going so hard, so much, and just focus on the present moment and the actions and the plans in the current moment. And so that's where we're at right now, right? Which is like, okay, I want to see your effort based on the present moment. And so, okay, this is where we kind of got to, and me and her actually got into a fight tonight because of me, actually. And I don't want to say because of me. To be honest, it's both of us. And I'll tell you why it's both of us. So as I'm communicating with her, I'm like, hey, man, oh, fag. No, I can't say that. You could leave it in there. I told her, recently, I was like, hey, listen, I understand your work schedule is busy. I respect that, but I do really want to see you. I mentioned that to her like a day or two ago. And I also told her, hey, I'm letting go of the idea of, having to know whether or not you're going to move here or not. So here's where we kind of landed on. And so after that moment, we've kind of just gone a couple days, we haven't necessarily talked about a plan to see each other. And what happened today was this. There was literally no problem, right? And I'm sure this is very common in a lot of relationships. There's no issue, right? You're going with the flow. So you're both like on the same page, normal day. She gets off of work, she's having a long day. She's having a rough day. She wasn't really sleeping a lot. So she's a little tired, a little distant, whatever, not a big deal. And I get on the phone with her after the gym at late night. I come back and I just start causing problems. I know I am. You know what I'm saying? I could feel it. And it's also a little bit of what we talked about earlier where I'm like, sometimes I like to push buttons. But this was a situation where not good to do so because I think it was more rooted in passive aggression. It's more rooted in resentment. And let me explain that. So we get on the phone and I'm recognizing I'm like pushing her. I'm like, oh, you don't really fucking care. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying shit like that. I'm like, oh, you don't really care. I'm like, I just don't feel, I'm like saying little statements like this, like, oh, I feel like, you're not showing me as much love today. And what's interesting is then she's trying to kind of do that. And then we kind of get into a deeper conversation and things were fine. And then I start kind of picking on her again a little bit, I'm picking on her. And what I'm saying is I was like, you don't really want to fucking, I'm like saying shit like, oh, I don't think you really care about me like that. Or like, oh, I don't think you really want to get married like that. And listen, this is not good, but it's really good self-reflection. So I'm just telling you. And this is also great because you have to be a learner and you have to be aware of your patterns. First off, if you're listening to this podcast, I'll tell you right now, the biggest problem I see in relationships is you are so unaware of the way that you're showing up in relationships, the negativity that you're bringing, the passive aggressive. I'm not going to get into it. Let's talk about me still. So anyways, my imperfect self, I'm saying those little things. And I end up realizing I get her to a point where she gets agitated, right? She's getting agitated about I do care. She's like, what's up? What's going on? I was like, listen, honestly, and then I open up and then I'm vulnerable and I say, I'm gonna be honest with you. It's just really hard for me. I don't see you, and as much as I want to sit here and tell you that everything is okay and that I'm all hunky dory, I don't see you. Plain as that, right? It's plain and simple. And again, now what are we at, right? It's the underlying issue that's always been there. And again, for every situation in a relationship, I guarantee you it comes down to one problem. So for us, that's what it is, right? It's that literally the only problem that we really have right at this point to making progress in this relationship is I'm feeling resentment toward the situation because I'm not seeing you. So in that moment, we pick a fight. We're getting really upset at each other. No, seriously, we got to the point where like she's yelling at me now and they're screaming. I'm hanging up, and first off, just behavior that, we don't honestly, this does not happen very often with us. Very honest, here and there will happen. But it really has been this underlying issue the whole time, if it ever has. Long story short, I let it go. We get back on the phone. We're still kind of bickering about it. She's like, I feel like you're started in with me today. I didn't respect that. I'm like, hey, listen, I'm sorry. That wasn't right. Sometimes I feel like I can't vulnerably express myself to you. You know what I'm saying? I feel like sometimes you don't understand when I'm trying to say something, but it was my fault tonight because, to be honest, I'm indirectly communicating. I'm picking a fight instead of directly speaking to you about my feelings. But the reason that I felt that way was because I feel like when I do bring up wanting to see her or seeing her, it almost feels like it keeps getting pushed off or brushed off. Right. So again, that's where the impasse is. And that's actually what I just communicated to her. She went to sleep. I sent her a voice note. And I just let her know. And I said, hey, listen, here's where we're at. The problem is, and I said, I'm sorry for starting the fight tonight. Take accountability, right? Sorry for starting that fight tonight. It wasn't on you. That's on me to be better in that situation. I know you don't have a lot of sleep. But here's where I'm at. The issue that I'm having is this. Listen, I've let go of the future. All right, whatever. If you move here, if you don't, whatever, that's not really important. What's important is if we're really going to work on this, we need to see each other. Point blank. That's the only way we're going to even make progress. And I actually feel resentment towards this situation if we do not have a plan to see each other. I said, if we had a plan to see each other in person, then I don't believe I would feel this way because I'd be like, okay, well, we're going to see each other. I could be consistent. I could show up consistently. I don't have to avoid anymore, right? Because that's a lot of my pattern is I have this resentment towards the situation. I feel like we're not making plans. I feel like we're not seeing each other. And then what do? I push the situation away and I say, fuck this. I'm not doing it, right? But really, what is the underlying issue? The underlying issue is we don't spend time with each other. But how do we solve that problem, right? The best way is that we need to make a plan. And this is what I told her. I said, point blank. I said, listen, I respect your work schedule. I respect the things that you have going on. Seriously, I really do. I understand you have a life. I understand I've been inconsistent. But we need to get a plan together. If we do not, and I said, just one hangout. I'm not saying 10 into the future anymore. That was my error as well. And I said, listen, let me know if that's something you can do. And pretty much it's just right now it's in the balance of, okay, if you can make a plan, we can make a plan to see each other, then great. But if we cannot do that, let's have a conversation about that. Maybe this isn't the right situation. You know what I'm saying? Maybe this is not the right situation for us if we truly can't find consistency in making that plan because that plan is that important to me. You get what I'm saying? And so for somebody in, wanting a relationship, this is a very common problem, right? It's like you want something deeper, but that person's not necessarily giving it to you. And this is a great way to figure out, right? Because here's the thing. Now we're at the point where I'm being very clear about my needs and I'm being very clear about the two pathways. It's either we make plans to see each other or we don't. And it's not about the fucking, you need to tell me if you marry me. It's not about you telling me whether or not you got to move here. It's not that. It's, okay, there's things that I do need in this relationship in order for it to be functional. And I feel resentment when those things are not being done. And if you care about me and you care about the situation or you have the capability, maybe it's not even about the care. Maybe it's just you truly can't. That's okay too. But we need to get very clear about that and understand those needs. So that's kind of where I was at. I started a fight tonight, but I'm still feeling okay. I don't know why I'm still in it, but you guys know me. Again, I pick a little fight, she's getting mad. I'm staying calm. You know me, I'm fucking Buddha. I had a moment where I think I got a little loud. You know what I'm saying? I get a little, sometimes that's the thing about me is that in a fight, I ain't gonna say shit. I'm not gonna raise my voice. I'm not gonna I'm gonna say little digs probably. I'm just being honest. I'm going to say little things that could potentially be, to tick you off, right? A smart ass energy, which is the worst. Teachers hated it. Parents hate it. Girlfriends hate it. Everyone hates it. But then what happens is then I rile that person up. They're yelling, explosive. It's crazy how each one of my exes are like this or people I talk to. And then I'm like, woo, why don't we just talk about it calmly? I sit there and my hands are up. I'm like, whoa, take it easy there, big guy. Like, whoa. But I had a little moment where I fucking yelled or some shit. All right. But this is a really great segue. It's a great segue into dealing with the person who says they want a relationship, but they don't act like it. Right. So I have another situation I want to bring up, very similar to the one with the girl. I had a guy that I've recently coached, right? And he's been dating this girl. She's a flight attendant. So the issue is with them too is she has a lot of time away, right? She'll stay at home in their home base, right? Where they live. I'm not going to say where, but then, she, during the week and during the time that she has her job, she's away. She goes to different cities. I don't really know what happens. I think she parties a little bit. She's a little mysterious. I think they met on a dating app. It's a little sus. Not saying that's sus, but my whole point is they used to be a situationship thing and she was comfortable with it. He was comfortable with it, but then he wasn't. He has feelings for her and he's been working with me to try to figure out, okay, is this girl playing me or does she actually want a relationship? Because what's crazy is she's telling him that she wants a relationship, but the ways that she's showing up, and I don't know if it's his fear, because to be honest, he's also really lacks vulnerability. He really struggles with opening up and telling her how he feels because he feels that if he does that, he's not going to be masculine. And that is something also that I dealt with in my situation too. It's fucking hard to have those very vulnerable conversations with a woman as a man. It really fucking is. Because to me, in my situation, I felt like, why is it this hard for me to get a plan with you? It kind of feels like I'm chasing you and I do not like that feeling. And I don't want to sit here and have these fucking hard conversations with you and constantly bring this up. You know what I'm saying? To be honest, I feel like that's chick activity. You know what I'm saying? That's feminine energy. But at the end of the day, you do need to be vulnerable if you do really want something real. And that's what a lot of men have to realize too, is you're not going to get the real thing if you don't have that ability to have those hard communications and put your heart on the line. Yes, this girl could turn around and say, oh, I don't want to make a plan. Okay, good. At least I got my answer, right? And that's what we're going to get to with this guy, which is this. So now he's like, he wants to be in this relationship with this girl and he communicates it. He finally does. He's like, yo, I like you more than this. I want to actually do this. And she's like, all right, I'm down. I'm down to do this. But her behavior kind of shows a little bit otherwise, right? She kind of is a little flighty, for a lack of a better term. No pun intended on the flight attendant thing. Hold on, I wrote some stuff down, some of the red flags. She doesn't ever call first whenever she lands in new places. She's very protective over her phone when they hang out. Screen's always down. She's always getting random Snapchats. You guys are getting the vibe. And doesn't really communicate very well when she's gone. And that to me is a massive problem. And here's the thing. And here's the hard part, right? This is where the gray area of relationships is so strong. And this is where it's hard because they used to be a situationship. Now they're upgrading to boundaries. But now those lines have never been drawn. They've never talked or communicated in that way. So what do we need to do, right? In my situation, in his situation, in the girl's situation, if you're looking for a relation, it's the same thing, right? You're wanting more clarity. You're wanting more boundaries over the situation. You're wanting more security, which is fine, which it makes sense. If you care about somebody and you want to make things work, sometimes you do need certain needs to get met for you to feel safe, right? Point blank. So for him, I told him, I said, listen, you need to address these things directly. You need to let her know that you want more communication in those situations. You need to understand whether or not she's fucking on you. You know what I'm saying? Be real, direct, and honest. Hey, listen, I feel that, sometimes I don't really feel safe in this relationship because I feel like you're constantly protective over your phone. I feel like you're not showing, I don't hear enough from you when you're gone. I feel like we're not communicating when you go to these different cities. I feel like you're partying. Please let me know if I'm in error here. Am I wrong? Right? And that's where you just got to be fucking so direct. It sounds crazy, but again, even in my situation, yes, it's very vulnerable for you to be like the one that has to be like, yo, what's good here? But at the end of the day, what do you want to do? You want to live in resentment the whole time? You can't do that. That's what I'm saying. Because what will happen is you think you can go with the flow. That's what I'm saying. For him, you could act like it doesn't bother you, or you could act like that doesn't matter. But all you're doing is setting yourself up for anxiety and setting yourself up for resentment and setting yourself up for passive aggressive communication, which is you then try to act cool, then you try to act distant, you try to play the whole masculine, stoic, I don't give a fuck thing because you think that that's what's going to get you what you want, but you never actually get more vulnerable, you never actually get closer. And here's the kicker behind all this. Yes, if you're vulnerable with that person and you tell them the things that you need to be successful in the relationship, and they don't step up and do those things, they don't really care that much, just to keep it real. Or they're truly incapable of giving you the relationship that you want. Take my situation. Yeah, it sucks. Do I got to put my heart on the line to communicate those things and be real? Yeah, it feels weird. Definitely does. But at the end of the day, I'd rather know whether or not I'm aligned with you. Point blank. You know what I'm saying? I'd rather know. And you better speak the fuck up. And even in the girl's situation, right, where she wants to understand about the relationship. Now, does she need to know about marriage? No. That's probably where she went in error, right? That's too much. But are you willing to introduce me to your friends? Hey, can we plan something with you and your family? I would like to see that. Yes, actually, it is a need for me to get to know you better, to get to know you deeper. It is a need for me. Those things need to be addressed. Because here's it's either the real is gonna, and that's the best part. They can't hide from the truth for too long. The other person, if they truly don't care about you in that capacity, they cannot run from you that long. That's what I'm trying to say. Me and this girl, you could run around and dance around that plan. If you are not capable of doing it, we are not going to be successful. And all it's going to show me is that you are incapable of doing that, or you are not willing to put in that effort. Point blank. So yes, are there times where I do want to see that you're able to handle some uncertainty, especially early on in dating, especially then? You have to. You got to be able to. Sometimes we're talking about boundaries way too early. We're getting too results focused, right? My whole point is be in the present moment. You know what I'm saying? You got to, and this is the hard part. It's like, it really is a case-by-case situation. But hopefully you're understanding what I'm saying. My whole point is this. If it's so far in the distance, then it's probably not a relevant conversation. But if it's talking about the energy and the actions that you're feeling in the present moment, need to be addressed. Point blank, needs to be addressed. And you need to speak up. Or again, all you're going to do is indirectly communicate, live in anxiety, and get fucked over. Point blank, you are. And you not speaking up and telling them your truth, you're not even showing up confident anyways. Yeah, you know what? Maybe it's hard to be fucking vulnerable, especially as a guy, right? Especially as a guy having these conversations, fucking hard. But face the facts. You know what I'm saying? You got to just face the fucking music. And the problem is the person on the other side, they don't care. They don't want to. That's what I'm saying. This girl, it's not a big need for her. Yes, she says to me, oh yeah, I do want to see you too. I do need, and listen, I'm not saying she's lying about that because I do feel like, again, she does show up for me a lot. She does invest in me a lot. And I know she cares about seeing me. And I know for her, she's a little bit more of like the anxious type. And sometimes it is hard for her to make that plan. So you do have to respect them when it comes to some of these things, right? Maybe this flight attendant girl, respectfully, she doesn't want to communicate all the time, but maybe there's a way that you guys can compromise and come to a solution. But the only way that that is possible is that you have to get really smart about what your needs are in the relationship. That's the solution to this right now. You want the solution to understanding or dealing with the person that's acting like or telling you they want a relationship, but acting maybe not. To me, what that sounds like is they don't fully understand your needs. That's what it is. And even better, when you start communicating those things, that's how you have a successful relationship. Every relationship is going to look different. It's going to look different. What I need versus the next person, much different. That's what I'm trying to say. You don't even know. Maybe the flight attendant girl just didn't even necessarily, I mean, it's hard to, from my bird's eye view, I'd say, it sounds a little bit like fuckery to me. And I communicated that to him, told him straight up. But at the end of the day, it's like, you still got to give them the chance first to change the behavior. Okay, so here's the other part of it, right? Communicate your needs, but here's the thing. The hard part is when they tell you that they're willing to change. Like, let's say this girl turns around and says, yo, actually, I get what you're saying. Yeah. I you know what? I do want this relationship. I will make that effort. I will do it. She goes on another flight, still doesn't call you, still doesn't keep you updated, still keeps you in the dark, still acting goofy, at that point, you got to really think about that. You know what I'm saying? Even the girl situation about the guy, he still isn't making plans to try to meet family. You still are getting this vibe from him that he's not taking it seriously. Keep having the conversations until it fucking breaks. That's what I would say. Seriously, keep communicating till you annoy the fuck out of them with it. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't care. I'm so serious with this girl, right? For me too. I don't care if it's annoying. Seriously. And that's the thing is like, I want to be conscious of that, but I also have fucking needs. I also need a plan for this to make sense. And again, to me, it makes sense in general, but you know, it is what it is. But again, to her, she's taking this more of a patient approach towards it. Like, all right, you know, let's see each other when, you know, it's convenient for both of us, which don't get me wrong, understandable. But to me, there's not enough effort there. And I need to see more effort in that place. If I see a plan or I see more effort, then I'll feel more satisfied. I can move forward. For this guy, hey, these are the things that are bothering me. Can we work on this? Can we come to a compromise? Hey, here are some solutions on how we can communicate better when you're gone or to make me feel more safe in this relationship. And again, I know that's fucking vulnerable and it's hard. And again, the people that don't do it don't belong in your life. Point blank. If they cannot compromise with you, they cannot communicate with you, and they also don't show up to the action, they're not worth it, in my opinion. That's what I'm trying to say. No harm, no foul. Love you. But if that doesn't happen, what's the point? For him, right? Same thing with the flight attendant. What's the point? I don't want a girl that's doing all that. No shot. I'm good on all that. Sayonara, you get on the plane. Deuces. Later. Peace out. Same thing with the guy and the girl. You're not introducing me to your friends. You're not taking me seriously. There hits a point where if I communicate to you that I just need a little bit more effort on some of these things, and again, I'll be chill. I'll let shit go. You know what I'm saying? And again, I was wrong about pressing on the future so hard. I'm wrong about that. Point blank. I made my mistakes. I've made my mistakes in the way that I've shown up. I've made my mistakes. And I understand that that's the thing too, right? It's like, you got to understand that they're imperfect as well. They're not always going to show up at 100%. They're not always going to communicate properly. They're not always going to understand very well. And this is where in relationships, you got to battle. This is the work. The work is communicating. We literally talked about it on the last podcast. Your values are changing constantly. Your needs are changing constantly. You're changing constantly. Communicate. Speak up. That's the name of the game. That is the name of the game in relationships. It's just being real honest about what you need, being vulnerable, being understanding, being compassionate. And hopefully things are going to work out for you. All right, let's get into the first date tippies, and then we will wrap it up for the day. All right, so this dude, he wrote into me. He said, let me find the picture. He said, Chris, hey, bro, I got my first date next Friday. Nice. I don't know if that means first date ever, potentially. Other than being myself, any advice or tips to take myself out of my comfort zone? On text, I'm extroverted, but once it's face to face, I shut down. LOL. There's a lot of keyboard warriors in 2024. Let's be honest. I mean, there's probably a lot of people, and I'm not on dating apps, but there's a lot of people I'm sure that, you know, just in this age of fucking social media and technology and all this shit, like a lot of people talk a lot over a keyboard, but when it comes to in person, that's a different ball game, sir. I'm the opposite. I'm the inverse. Like, to me, my opinion, I guess, I feel like I'm great in person, confident, witty, funny, all the things. But when you get me over text, I am fucking dry. I say things that are just insane. My sarcasm doesn't transfer. I don't know if I text at the right times. I couldn't tell you my ass from my fucking ear when it comes to texting. Seriously, that is not my forte. A lot of people, that's what I'm saying, that go online, they're really good about, you know, emojis and like 3-word text. Yo, I feel like that's a thing in our fucking society. Is it not? Like people, like I feel like the texting culture that we have in America, and I don't know if this is everywhere, I feel like the texting culture we have now is like sending these like 3-4 word text messages really minimal effort in the text message because you got to show that you don't really care, but you also got to be playful within a concise amount of information. Now, I don't know if that's wrong, but to be honest, my texting style in the past, and honestly, I've had like past girls where like I would love girls that like would send me like paragraphs, like, you know what I'm saying? Like detailed shit, like shit that they're reading or shit that they're whatever. But then you get some other people. I've had some partners where it's just like really fucking dry small talk. And I'm just like, what the fuck is this? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, why are we even having this conversation over text? Like it literally is almost just like just to keep tabs, but there's no really actual conversation. And I guess that it works for people. I don't fucking know. But my whole thing is like, if you're going to talk, like, let's actually like have a conversation or say something like, with a little bit of depth. So that's my pet peeve of the day. It really grinds my fucking gears. But anyways, my whole point is this. Apparently I'm the expert of the in-person. So let's talk about the tips to take himself out of his comfort zone. I mean, you're doing it anyway if this is your first date. So number one tip I would even say for you is fucking just show up. Show up. But let me tell you about just like maybe the way that I prepare mentally for a first date. It's been a while since I've been on like a real first date. Let me think about how I think. To be honest, it depends on the girl. Like there's some times where I could be a little nervous. Sorry, I have a little sniffle. There's sometimes I could be a little nervous, but for the most part, I know that's a really crappy advice, the whole be yourself thing, but honestly, the best thing to do, the problem is, the reason it's good advice, but also bad advice is this. If you can actually just show up and be purely authentic, that truly is the number one goal of a date. The number one goal of a date is you show up as you are without fear of showing who you are. Because the more that you could show who you are genuinely, the more that you're going to attract a genuine connection. It's not about trying to date somebody to get them to care about you. And that is the mental, that's the mind shift that you have to make. The date is not unsuccessful if the person doesn't like you. That thought process needs to get the fuck out. That thought process entirely is what keeps people in shit relationships or waste their time. You're wasting your time. You're wasting the other person's time. It is not about getting that person to care about you. It really is not. And to be honest, what we talk about, people pleasing is the biggest turn off in dating. So what's the opposite? What's the biggest turn on? Being purely authentic. Come as you are. It really is the best way. So my whole mentality when I'm going on a date is I try to go blank mentality. I try not to go with any sort of preconceived behavioral things. All I tell myself is I'm like, literally, I try to go blank minded. I don't really try to tell myself something. If I have to talk to myself or pep talk myself, it might just be like, deep breath. All right. Let's see what this one's about. That's what I said. I'm like, all right, let's see what this one's about. Let's just be me. And so, I mean, big things to me though, like just in terms of like tips is you just got to trust yourself too. Like, it's not even just about being yourself. It's also about trusting, your energy. And there's been times where I've been on dates where, I'll feel a little bit of nerves. And what will happen is the things that I would normally do with a girl, sometimes I'll be afraid to do it. So for instance, the way that I usually go on a first date, I feel like it always goes the same way, or at least this is the way that I like to move on a first date. I'll show up. First off, you better pick the place, you better have picked the time, and you better be prepared to pay whatever the fuck it is. So that's just off the bat. If you do not have that mentality, go the fuck home. So plan the date, pick the time, ask her if she wants to get picked up or not. Sometimes they'll decline, and some girls get weird about getting picked up. Other girls like the gesture, but I would definitely offer to pick her up. So drive. Do most girls make me pick them up? Some of them. Honestly, I would say yes. If I offer, I guess it really depends. Actually, that one's probably 50-50. Some girls get weird about that. They're like, I don't want to go to your house. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want you to know where I live. It's like, calm down. All right. First off, what do you think? Like, what do you think? I'm going to fucking come kill you? Relax. You know what I'm saying? Relax. Long story short. So let's just say we meet at the place. Let's just say that, for all the fucking Me Too movements. You go to the place, right, that you set up the date. First off, big thing is, I talked about showing up late early in the podcast. You kind of want to be on time for a date. I think most of the time, most women are usually late to a date. And I think if you're a girl, not that you have to be, but I feel like girls like to show up late because they like to not be there first. You know what I'm saying? I feel like if you plan the date, I feel like you should be there first, just so that you could have the table, you could scope out the area, you could make sure you get a good spot, whatever it is. So I usually get there like right on time, sometimes a little late. You know what I'm saying? I still got to be me, right? Hey, listen, it's just me. But usually on time. I usually care about the person, whatever. Get in there. First off, sit at the table, wait for her to come. She comes there. First off, get up out of the fucking chair, go give her a hug, introduce yourself, tell her to sit, maybe take out, like, you can move her chair back if you're really feeling yourself. I think if you're sitting with a chair, there's something cute about doing that. Pull out her chair, push it in, make sure she's sitting. Cool beans. Now, honestly, I'm a big fan of booths in a first date. So I'm usually going after a booth. If I call a restaurant, I actually request for a booth on a date. And the reason being is at some point during the date, I am going to get on your side. And a lot of girls, you might sit there and be like, I don't like that. With me, you don't have a choice. And first off, I'm going to be honest, I have the confidence where I don't give a fuck, right? Like, you might be a girl that doesn't like that. I don't care. You're going to like it with me. But usually most girls do fuck with it. It's just maybe like other guys have not really executed it that well. I feel like I make women feel really comfortable very fast, just because of just my vulnerability. And again, goes back to being yourself. The more vulnerable you are with yourself and who you are and just kind of being you, and you're not like pressuring her or making her feel discomfort. More than likely, they actually do like that assertive energy. They like that comforting energy. So first things first, maybe ask her what she likes. Sometimes I like to ask them what they want, right? You know what I'm saying? Tell me, like, what are the things that you want? What are you thinking about? Here's some of the appetizers that I like, or here's what I'm going to get. Tell them what I'm going to get. Ask them what they want. Get their order from them. I like to order the food for us. She could order her own drink. If she wants one. I actually don't drink on first dates, but why do I not drink on first dates? Because I don't drink. I authentically don't drink. Now, if you drink, get a fucking drink. See, you understand what I'm saying? Like, there are things that you just can't take. You know what I'm saying? You just have to go and do what is right or feels right to you. If you're somebody that likes to have a drink, have a fucking drink. If you're me, don't do it. I don't like to get a drink. I usually get an iced tea or something, which is kind of weird. But then that's a good conversation starter too, because most girls are like, they're like, oh, you're not going to get a drink? Sometimes that weeds immediately. You know what I'm saying? Now we're seeing right off the jump habits. First thing, are they going to order a drink? Something I really try to notice, if it's a girl I've never really like hung out with before and shit, like, does she drink, right? Does she really want to get fucked up right now? Because there's some people that really want to get fucked up on a date. And I'm like, that's cool, but not necessarily my vibe. I'm not going to judge you for it. It is what it is. There's something also wrong with getting a drink. Sometimes I really, like, if she drinks and she's like, oh, I was going to get a drink. I was like, all right, fuck it. I'll get one too. It's not a big deal. But I usually then say, it's really, I'm not something I really do often. Anyways, just have a good time. Conversation. Big thing for a guy too. Ask questions. A lot of guys on dates, they don't really take an interest in the girl. Like, be very curious about her life. Get curious about, what she does for a living. Get curious about the little things about her, right? Really understand her at her core. And honestly, I feel like that's the thing. A lot of people, I feel like when they go on a date with me, they might think that I might make the date about me. Like, I'm the one talking the most. To be honest, on most first dates, I think I'm talking the least every single time. I want to say 90 to 95% of the first dates I've went on, I'm asking questions and she's answering questions. So I take a really deep investment into them. Again, this is all part of the safety thing. Now I do say my shit, and the reason I kind of hold off is because I think that my honesty kind of shocks them. They'll start asking me questions afterwards because I'm asking deep questions off the rip. I don't give a shit. And then I just start coming out and I just be me. And then eventually, and I'm just being real, right? Like if you, and again, it's hard. If this is your first date ever, I don't think that you need to go for anything physical or a kiss. To me, that's big league, I guess. But my move is at some point I will create touch. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's their hand or their wrist or something. Something small like a quick tap or whatever. Again, it has to be natural. There's not like a thing that I do. I just use the environment or the moment to do it because, again, creating that safety with physical touch is huge. And then at that point, I will actually ask, like usually within 20 to 30 minutes, maybe a little bit after, or honestly off the jump. If the girl is comfortable enough, I will. It depends on how, like, you know what I'm saying? There's some people I'm really comfortable with really fast. But then what I'll do is I'll say, hey, do you mind if I like sit on the same side as you? And most of the time, no girl has ever told me no. You know what I'm saying? Like, I guess you could, but also I'm sure they're fucking scared. You know what I'm saying? So I usually go on their side. And at that point, physical touch is easy, right? Now my leg's on your leg, not on top of it, but, you know, we're touching literally like thigh to thigh maybe. So you kind of bring that closeness. Now, this is very suave move. You got to have a lot of confidence to be able to do that. And then at that point, just, enjoy it. I don't know if I usually go for like a kiss in the booth. Some girls, they're, again, you could just, it's hard. You got to go on a few first dates to get the vibe. But some girls, they're kind of down for something crazy like that. I think there was one girl, I remember sitting next to her and I was kissing her shoulder. I'm kissing her shoulder. I'm like, oh, just give me a kiss. And I start kissing her shoulder. She's like, you could kiss me on my lips if you want. I was like, what? It's like, she's like, oh, you know, the beat around the bush. I'm like, all right, fire. I'm in there. So yeah, some people, more than likely it's this. More than likely, you don't even honestly, seriously, you don't even have to do the sit on the same side of the booth thing for your shit. Just show up, be curious, have a good time. Again, ask good questions. Just really take a strong investment and interest in who they are and what they do, and just be fucking real. That's it. Do not hide anything. Really, don't fucking hide anything. There's nothing to hide. Just be fucking you. Be vulnerable as fuck. Seriously, again, the success of the date is not about them liking you. It's not. And when you are unattached to the outcome like that, that's when the date goes 20 times better too. So afterwards, get the bill, pay, walk her out. At that point, I'll, walking out to the car. That usually to me is the time where so if she has a plan afterwards, here's another like little cool move if you want. If you're really feeling this chick and you knew it was going to be a long night, you could also pick a secondary place for drinks and plan that beforehand, but don't tell her. So if you go out to the car, I usually have two options. So I usually have my house or I have another place. I usually will, if I have that secondary place in mind, it just depends on the feeling of the date, right? So like if we're really vibing and I could tell that she's comfortable enough to like come chill with me, I'll probably like be like, yo, you want to come back to my place? We'll just like chill and talk, like, or just like get a bottle of wine or something. Or you could just say, usually for their first date, right? They want to stay in public. You usually don't want to bring it back to the house. At that point, you can offer up the second place, be like, oh, I know this cool spot down the street or over here if you want to go grab a drink and, just like keep chilling. Now, if she told you beforehand that she already had a plan and you kind of already just getting the vibe that it's the end of the date, maybe you guys spent a long time at that place. To me, this is the time for the first kiss. I rarely leave a first date if I'm vibing with a girl without a first kiss. I'm just going to be real. I'm going to go as far as say is this, like the dates where I haven't kissed on the first date are usually the dates that have not really gone anywhere. And I don't know if that's a bad thing, but there are times where like you could tell somebody's very reserved. And that's okay too. Like, I mean, it is what I'm not saying that's impossible. I know for a fact there are some women that just do not fuck with that. You could tell that their energy is just almost like standoffish, like almost like don't kiss me. But I would say walk them to their car, or if you drove them, get out of your car, walk them to their door. Like, don't make it awkward. Okay, two situations. Let me back away for a second. If you're walking them to the car and you know that's where you're going to leave her because she brought her own car and you know it's the end of the date, walk her to her car. First, give her a hug, right? Because that'll make it easy to kind of get that contact. And then after the hug, like, you could keep your arms kind of like around her a little bit, and then kind of just like give her a look in the face. You'll kind of have like a moment with a pause and then go for the kiss. And here's the thing. If you had a good time, here's my rule. If you spent over 3 hours with me at this restaurant, you probably want to kiss me, just to keep it real. Now, if she ends the date very quickly and you could kind of tell this standoff energy, don't go for the kiss. Don't do it. But if she's vibing with you fucking for hours and hours, you know what I'm saying? Go for the kiss. I'm not joking. Go for the kiss. And even if girl says, I don't like that, I'm going to be honest with you. As a confident man, I have yet to meet a woman that even when they're standoffish won't give you a kiss, just to keep it real. And honestly, some girls, they might even do it even if they're not feeling you. Honestly. But yeah, so at the car, again, go for the hug, kiss, see you later. Nice meeting you. Honestly, I like when they text me and they thank me for taking them on the date. I usually wait for them to text me. If I don't hear from them for a couple days, I'll ask them why they're ghosting me. That's a little fun little tip, a little secret for you right there. That's my two moves. I either wait for them to say something and thank me for the date, or if they don't say anything, I'll kind of let a few days go by, let her get a little, get a little scared, and then I'll ask her if she's ghosting me. Works every time. And then yeah, if you did drive, the only other thing you'll want to do is you want to walk her to her door. I like to do that, or to the front of her building, whatever it is. Get out of the car. Don't make the kiss in the car. Get out of the car, open her door. And also, on the entry, when you pick her up, make sure you open the door for her, and get her into the car, help her into the car. But after you drop her off back at her place, get out of the car, give her a hug. Literally same thing. Hug, not stare, but you know what I'm saying? They're going to give you a glance that's like, I'm really scared, but I really want to kiss you. That's usually the vibe I get. That sounds unconsensual, but you understand the vibe. All right. So that's how you do it. The other tips is, again, I don't know. Like I said, just be you. Get uncomfortable. You know what I'm saying? Show up. Get rejected. Again, you should just be you. You know what I'm saying? Just go have a conversation like it's with a friend. Throw a little flirtatious comments in there, kind of catch the vibe. Just focus on creating connection. Focus on just having fun with the moment. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't need to be deeper than that. Step one, just have a good time. Literally, that's it. Like, your whole objective should just be like positive, good energy. And I'm just going to be as honest as possible. And I'm just going to ask really good questions. And I'm just going to vibe and have a good time. And if the vibe's right, I'm going to create physical contact and connection. And I'm going to kiss you. And, we're going to ride off into the sunset. So hopefully that helps. Girls, if you got any negative comments, just go ahead, fucking send me a message, yell at me. Don't give a fuck. All right. That's my podcast. If you ever want to work with me, you know where to find me. Newsletter, it's free. Take my dating personality quiz. It's also free. Everything's on my links. Figure it out. Come on. You know the deal. Anyways, love you guys, and I will talk to you very soon.